Welcome to the Business Leader Spotlight. The Business Leader Spotlight is bringing attention to those in our community making a difference in business. It is also an opportunity to identify the skills they have learned and applied to get where they are. And now, let us go into this week's interview.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Business Leader Spotlight. I'm your host, Mike Butler, and this week we have with us Joshua Joseph. Joshua Joseph leads a project or a team or organization called the Dream Team Project. Hey, Joshua, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us. Do you mind sharing with the audience a little bit about yourself and what you're currently working on?
Okay, well, so I actually an immigrant. So I actually grew up, I was born in Grenada in the islands in Caribbeans. Then we moved up to Brooklyn, New York, saw the World Trade Center fall down. I was already enlisted into the Marine Corps. By that time, I was in a delayed entry program. So went into the military, the Marine Corps, did 3 tour duties, and then got out the military and was looking for something big to be a part of again, and just got partnered up with the right set of people. I mean, I was fortunate just to have a girl, I guess I was kind of chasing next to me with a family that was just really close to her. And then I call him my Mr. Miyagi, and everything changed from there. So,
but wow. Yeah. That's really interesting. I grew up in Connecticut, so I remember seeing the World Trade, going through New York and seeing them all, that skyline off to the right when I go across the George Washington Bridge, always looking over there. It was a reminder, and the first time I went back was almost eerie because... Right, yeah, definitely. I remember seeing, last time I did it, they were there. The next time was several, years after. I'm an adult. I had already done my time in the Marine Corps myself, and seeing that and being in the delayed entry program and with the Marine Corps at the time, I'm pretty sure you had a lot of different emotions just to even continue that step, because you're there, but then a lot of times people don't realize when you sign up for the military, that's one of the things that you're signing up for is that preparation to fight for the country, and I'm pretty sure the emotions ran high for you, and even with some of your family possibly didn't want you to go in because what was coming.
Well, the funny thing is, everybody was like, "Man, you're going to war," and I was like, "Well, you're going to college and you got to take the SAT." So I just don't want to take the SAT, man. I'm good.
That's a good one. If hey, I don't want to do the school thing, and I'm going to go this route. So that's great. Do you mind sharing with us a little bit about the Dream Team Project?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that I realized, especially with the Marine Corps, is that a network of people around you that are positive can help you have a more positive outlook on life. If you have negative people around you, I mean, we all know you just feel yucky. So with the Dream Team Project, it really is just a group, an organization of business owners, entrepreneurs, go-getters who we create a positive atmosphere so that they can grow and become their best selves. So we provide events so people can come to the events and they can pull something out of it to grow themselves. There are, I think 2 years ago, we did something called Vision 2019, which is very interesting. We did that before 2020, but we did Vision 2019, and it was an event where we had people come out. We had a friend of ours who was a project partner on the Dream Team Project, and he has a band, and his goal is to build this band and have them go out and spread positive music and everything. So he helped us put it together, and we got people together to help give them a message of hope and to show them that it doesn't matter where you come from. Because I grew up in the hood. It doesn't matter where you grew up, where you came from. If you get the right set of people around you, you can go as far as you want to go. You have to keep fighting for it. So the Dream Team Project is really just a network of people who are cultivating that positive environment to help you to have your best life.
Wow, that's when you started talking, I thought of a quote by Charlie Tremendous Jones. It says, "You're the average of the 5 people that you hang around with," and it sounds like the Dream Team Project is basically an organization designed to give you 5 people to basically bring you up to a higher average.
Right.
Whether that's, whether you're entry-level entrepreneur, you're a seasoned entrepreneur, even a second stage business owner. It's something to continue to push people forward and push entrepreneurs forward, but also maintain that community piece, because one of the key things I think you kept saying was about hope, being able to share hope. And one of the people from Vision 2019 even spreading music that provides hope, and because it's one of those things, music, because it's so rhythmic, it sticks in our head. I remember songs from the 90s that, I'm walking around my house and songs come back from the 90s in my head, and I'm like, where did that come from? What strange combination of things caused that song to come, to pop back in my head? And having messages and music providing hope is something that right now I can really see a need for in this project, this group coming together. It seems like that's everything. That's kind of an essence of what the Dream Team Project is all about, is providing that.
And we've had events. We've done this last year. We did Bible studies, which I do my Bible studies a little different than most, because I just do it more in an open forum type of, hey, everyone has a voice. There shouldn't be one person dominating, trying to tell you this is how you should think. So people would study different things, or maybe they'd go through a week and they understood something when they read the Bible. And then they would come to this Bible study, and it was, okay, what did you get? What did you understand? How did this build you up? How did this lift you up? And then we've done book studies. One of the last book studies we did was Robert Kiyosaki's Cash Flow Quadrant. And it was a group of people getting together to read that book. And what did you get from that? How could you apply that in your life? And it's just so important to really have people who are actually reading and applying at the same time. And then you come together and you speak what you learn, because all those 3 things go together. You have to read, you have to apply, and then learning to communicate that message across to other people is really some of the key things that you need as a leader.
Oh, definitely. That seems to be such a missing link with a lot of people. Is, you have the people that read, they read, books upon books upon books. You have the people that read, that number thins out when you go from reading to applying. Yeah. And then it thins out even further, those people that can read, apply, and communicate it. And not just, I'll say, parrot the information, but actually provide it in a way that's real life. I'm not going to use the same, we grew up in different areas and at different times. We're not going to use the same words, but we're going to understand the intent, the heart of the message based on me speaking it from my perspective. Just like somebody like Robert Kiyosaki. He was a Marine pilot back in Vietnam. There are certain things that we don't understand. Yeah. But there are certain things, just because he says them a specific way, we automatically know. It's like, oh yeah, he's read, he's applied, and he can communicate it, because we all have, we make that connection. And it's one of those things. It builds that community, that family. And it's great to hear that you provide people that voice of understanding, because it allows them to get comfortable talking about their opinion in some instances, because
their opinion matters. That's the big thing, man.
Right. And that's hard for some people to appreciate. I will say is that, no, what you have to say is just as important as what I have to say. It doesn't matter, what socioeconomic background you come from or I come from. What matters is, okay, where are we at? What are we doing? And how are we getting better from there? So
Right. Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about what you saw missing that helps you create the Dream Team Project organization, or did you partner with people? How did you kind of go about that process?
So I think one of the realms that we use is the network marketing industry.
Okay.
And one of the things that I've experienced with the network marketing industry sometimes is just how some network marketers seek to build small businesses, or let me not say small businesses. They choose to look at network marketing in a way to where they're just gonna make a few bucks here and there. But then I've also seen people make a lot of money, but those people, a lot of the information and the knowledge and the wisdom that they have, it's kind of kept in that group. So when I saw that, I was like, oh man, it would be so, I know that there's so many people that would love to get that type of information. Now, people who come to some of the events that we have, they can't get that full spectrum of knowledge and mentorship and stuff like that. But what they can grasp is some of the information or book recommendations, and they can get a peek into that world and still be able to, they don't have to be in network marketing. You can still get the information and grow and be inspired. If you're not in network marketing, but you're a car salesman, guess what? You still need to learn how to communicate. And there's some things that successful network marketers, and I gotta be specific about it.
Yes.
Network marketers, they understand how to communicate a thought, feeling, emotion. They know how to listen, and they know how to not sell people a product, but to give people exactly what they want. And that's so important. So when I saw that there was just a gap, I was like, okay, well, I would love to be the in-between to where we can give, people who are not in network marketing some of the great information and inspiration, knowledge and wisdom. And even just with some of the events, they're not really connected to the network marketing stuff, but the events are really put on from my heart and me, really, because one of the things that I've done is a paintball event every year prior to COVID. I did paintball, and we did paintball to help people have fun, but then I would also teach them about the military. I would study a book, communicate the book, and give leadership tips from that environment. So you want to understand about Vietnam? Let's go to this event. Let's play some paintball. We'll talk about it. We'll discuss. I'll tell you about a book that I read, tell you stories of Marines. And then also I'll play music from that era while we're there. So just trying to get you into the feel of all that. But by the time you get done with it, and I'll go around and ask questions in a group and say, what did you learn from this? Did you enjoy this? And hey, did you meet somebody that you didn't know? And in that environment in itself, people get things that they normally wouldn't have really gotten from just a regular business meeting.
Wow, that seems like you've taken a lot of thought and put a lot of time into being able to find how to link up the pieces of what's valuable to you and how to be able to transition, okay, this value to me, how do I transition that from me to the next person? Not just it makes sense here and I can apply it here, but taking it that next step and being able to communicate it. And that is such a key piece of all of this. I think we talked about it earlier, is just that ability to communicate something effectively and be able to draw people into the conversation, not saying, okay, well, because you're not a Marine, you don't understand, we can't talk about it. It was like, no, you're not a Marine. I need a different set of opinions. I need different perspectives. I need different thoughts about this whole thing, because yes, this is the Marine way we do things, but that doesn't mean there's not other valuable ways to be able to see this. And it'll allow me to have a broader, more diverse perspective. So that's interesting.
Exactly.
You were saying something?
Oh, no, I was saying, exactly it.
And finding a way to link it with network marketing, because I know a few people that have been in, multi-level marketing or network marketing, and they're very good at what they do. But there's a difference between, because I've seen the ones that are where they got into it to make a quick dollar and they never learned the principles of it and figured out how do I do this? How do I communicate my message and not just try to sell a product? And it seems like you want to be able to help people with that communication piece, and also just as we talked about earlier, being able to lift their average up is like, okay, come here so we can all come up a higher level, because there's something that you have we all need to be able to partake of. So that's really interesting. So about how long have you been how long ago did you start the Dream Team project?
So this will be 3 years for the Dream Team project. Ever since I got out the military, I've been taken under the wings of, my wife's friends. I mean, they're my best friends now. But this guy, he is 3 times, well, he probably wouldn't like me saying it, but I mean, he's older than me. Let's just say that. He's older and wiser than me. He married his high school sweetheart. He's got kids. So when we're talking about mentorship and coaching, his main focus is to leave a legacy of good. And he pours his life, his time, his mindset, and just the things that he learned through life. And he pours it into people that appreciate his time. For me, when I was in Jacksonville, I was on unemployment. Sometimes I needed something to eat. So I would be over at his house and we would sit down and we would talk, and he would just share knowledge. And when you find people like that, they are very rare. So once I spotted that, I was like, okay, I need to know what he knows. So even till this day, when I wasn't married, we talked about being a man, what it is to be a man. Unfortunately, I didn't really see what, and you were in the military, you were in the Marines. Manlyhood in the Marine Corps and manlyhood outside the Marine Corps is kind of two different things. Manlyhood in the Marine Corps outside kind of don't fit.
Yeah, the two never cross paths. They some people brush up against in a broad stroke will come close to it, and others are like, hey, you know what, I'm gonna be in the ditch on the completely opposite side of the country.
So when Calvin really took me under his wing, there was just so much I didn't understand about the civilian world, about relationships and stuff, that I was willing to put my life in his hand and trust that he had my best interest in heart. And there's just little things that he taught me about being a husband, about being a dad, before I was even in those positions, so that, when I did get in those positions, I knew kind of what to expect a little bit. But I think more than anything, I knew the questions to ask. Because if you're getting into trouble in your marriage and, in different relationships, and you don't know what questions to ask, you'll be stuck in the same place and you'll never move. And that's unfortunate.
Yes.
So being able to have right people in my corner, for me was, my mentor, big time. And I will forever be grateful to have a mentor. I mean, I think people who make the bodily change of losing weight and getting really fit, I know that they are forever grateful to have a personal trainer. Most of these people do have a personal trainer, whether it's Jillian Michaels on video, but the one that you can talk to, that face to face, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
So if I can make any recommendation to anybody, I would say find a mentor and a coach for life. Someone who cares about you, someone who is gonna really take your interest in heart, and they really want to do good by you. If you can find a mentor, don't let them go.
That's great advice, to be able to have somebody. One thing I noticed that you said is being able to ask the right question. That's one of the biggest keys to being able to solve any problem, whether it's a relational problem or even just a problem in everyday life, is what question do I need to ask? And having somebody who's may not have experienced it exactly the same way, but has enough wisdom to be able to look at it and be like, oh, did you think about that? And you're like, wow, it's so simple. It was right there the whole time. But how did they say it so easily? You know, I've had plenty of those moments where it was like, how did he know that? Or how could they see that so simply? But I can understand where you're coming from of having somebody that's got the experience and got the know-how and is willing to share it with you. And
right.
One of the things I don't know if you didn't say it, but it sounds like, or I've heard, or I'm based on your words, I'm hearing that is that you sought your mentor out. You didn't necessarily sit back and wait for your mentor to spoon feed you this information. You had to go to him and ask questions. Can you talk a little bit about how the position that puts you in, you know, the discomfort, the feelings of, you know, I'll say inadequacy in some ways, but can you just talk about that a little bit with people just to share?
I would say that was one of the hardest things that I had to learn how to do, because military mindset says if I'm putting you in a position of leadership in my life to help me move forward, I can't ask questions. Or anything you tell me to do, I will do. That's just how we roll. If you say to do it, I'm not going to question. I'm just going to do it. Get it done. Right? But one of the things, a couple conversations that we had, me and Calvin, it was more on, I'm never going to ever really tell you what to do. And at that point, when he said that, I was like, that's a problem for me. What? But he would say, I'm always going to lead you to learn how to think about your situation. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, so if that's the case, then I need to work through what to think, perspective, and how to ask questions. And I knew at that moment that I was going to feel a little awkward with this relationship. Because I knew that, I was able to go in and be honest and just let them know, hey, I feel weird about this, you know, or excuse me, Mr. Calvin, sir. And it was weird. It was really weird. But I would say probably about a year into it, we had a weekly time where we would get together and we would talk about just anything. But as I got, you know, into my marriage and got more into business, got more into learning about sales, got into learning about doing business presentation and different things like that, our conversations really got more strategic. But it couldn't get there until I allowed him to kind of come in and be honest about, hey, this is where I see you are. This is what you might need to read. And that's what he did. A lot of the times he would just give me books, because he knew that him telling me exactly what to do wouldn't really do it justice. After he gave me a book, then he would say, what did you get from that book? And our conversations would this would be for months, man. And then, I mean, and this is why it's been probably about 13 years now, where 3 years ago, where we started the Dream Team projects, I told him, hey, dude, this is the vision. This is what I have. And this is how I feel like we can help people. And he was like, man, that sounds awesome. That sounds amazing. And you want to help people out? I think they'll be able to feel your heart. So let's go. If there's anything you need from me, let me know and I'll be there. And that's pretty much how things kind of came about.
There's so many different parts of what you just said that I want to go into, but I don't want to go too far. I want to kind of stay kind of on task, so to speak. But you spoke about a piece where in your relationship, in your conversations with Calvin, he provided you, or he spoke to you about where you were, about locating, okay, here's where you are, but here's where I see you.
Right.
And I was just doing some research and some studying about this. This is why it really resonated and rung in my ears, is because there's a part of us that thinks that just because we define a goal, that means we can get there, which I don't say is incorrect. I say it's incomplete, because if you don't know where you're starting from, the journey is a whole lot different. It's like, going from North Carolina to New York. If you don't know you're in North Carolina, or you don't pay attention to the fact that you're in North Carolina, how do you get to New York?
Right.
Do you fly? Do you drive? Do you take a plane? Do you take a boat? What is the different options? Because you have to start somewhere in order to get there. And it seems like that relationship of him giving you the books and him asking those, I'll say, difficult questions, because the question of what did you get from the book is not how we're taught how to read a book. A lot of times in school, we're expected to learn the information that the teacher wants us to learn. Right. In this mentorship type of relationship, it sounds like he was like, no, what did you get out of it? Talk to me about that, and draw all of that out there. Don't just and I'll say have him save you from trying to actually put your words together and communicate it. So I guess really quickly, one last thing on that is, the first time he asked you that question, what was your response?
Before that, I got to back up, because he noticed that one of my bad habits earlier on is when I would speak to people, I would always try to think about what to say next while they were talking. So guess what I was not doing? I was not listening. So the book that he gave me was The Art of Dealing with People. I think that's the name of it. Mm-hmm. And Skills with People. So those two books, they're very small, but in those books, specifically, it talked about that. And that was one of the main things that I pulled out. So as we kind of unfolded the book, I mean, it was only about, I think it was like 65 pages. And that probably also came from a conversation where I told him that I didn't like to read. So hence he gave me a small book. But yeah, it felt uncomfortable. But I think knowing that he had my best interest in heart, I had to humble myself to receive the information and know that we were going somewhere, and somewhere was better than where I was currently. It wasn't that where I was currently was bad, but I just wanted to move forward in life. And I know that if I hitched my wagon to him, we would move forward together.
Yes, that's great. I want to just dig in further and further into this into this relationship, because there's so much. I think a lot of times we fail to realize the value that mentorship or that personal relationship with somebody, where they can speak to us to where we are specifically. Yeah. How you're talking about, what it does for our lives. Yeah. Because I know 2 relationships that I have, in a mentoring type of role. It's always conversations where they ask me those questions where I have to stop and deal with that uncomfortable, awkward silence. Like, okay, I'm waiting for your answer. And you're like, oh gosh. And you're trying to form the words, because a lot of times we don't have to always put it all together. We don't have to clearly articulate our thoughts on a specific thing. And you're speaking to that in that relationship. And at a certain point, it becomes, you still look at them as a mentor, but you then look at them, you start to see them as a friend. Not a friend like, oh yeah, we're going to go hang out together, but a friend as in, hey, they saw something that I couldn't see, but they put me on a road to be able to get there to see it. Even though it may have taken 3, 4, 5 books that I had to read, and I had to start to put together thoughts and put together my feelings about it, and be able to articulate it concisely and coherently. Yeah. Because one thing we share, the common piece, is the Marine Corps. You can say a few words and not say anything.
Right. Yeah. You can say one word. One word. And you mean many things.
Exactly. And like you said, going from the military to the civilian world to the world at large, where the majority of people communicate, being able to do that it takes effort. It takes practice. It's not a skill you wake up with one day and say, hey, I've got the communication thing down. Whether that's on the listening side or on the speaking side, and being able to talk to what's actually going on with people. So I thank you for sharing that, the depth of that relationship with us. It's a great example of what can happen when you find that right mentor. I guess in your lifetime, in your time, what's one of the greatest lessons, or what are the greatest lessons that you've learned up to this point?
This one right here was also with the communication deal, where I would always try to think about what to say next when I'm in a conversation with someone, to either maybe make myself look good, or be friendly, or make the person like me, like, oh, like he knows a lot of things, so maybe I'd want to hang out with him more. That mindset, I had to learn that mindset was not correct. And that when you're in a conversation and you're focusing on someone else, if you had a thought and the person is talking and that thought goes away, maybe that thought didn't matter. Mm-hmm. But as you focus on what they're saying and something else comes up based on what they said, then that's probably what you need to flow with. Don't worry about the thought that you had that you're trying to grasp, like, oh, but I want to say this. Don't worry about that. Communicate. Be with that individual where they are. I mean, I guess that's what you would call connecting. Yep. Connect with them before you try to do anything else. If you're trying to take somebody, to a higher level, you really do have to get on that common level, that common playing field before you can go anywhere else. So, but that was definitely one of the biggest things that I had to learn. Just slow down. It took me a long time. Just shut that voice up.
Oh, yes. You said certain things, certain phrases that I was like, wow, you've been in my head. It was like, the thoughts come up in your mind, or being able to be like, oh, this thought, I want to say this. I want to show people that, I am intelligent, I am smart, or, hey, because I said this, you want to, be around me, you'll accept me more. All of those different things I felt very much like that in conversation. So you spoke to a real truth from my life specifically of wanting that acceptance. And I've had to learn that process as well. And I guess the way I've learned it, or I kind of distilled it down to, is you have to surrender the outcome. When you're in that conversation, you cannot dictate and determine what it's all going to be. You've just got to be like, okay, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be present in the moment with them, and how it ends, I can't control.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. So I'm gonna have to use that.
Okay.
Surrender the outcome.
So one of the next things I was wondering is what are you learning now, or what are you reading now? Most likely you're reading another book, but
so I got done writing a book, just finished. My goal was to finish it. This is my second book that I finished at the end of last year. So I had 30 minutes to spare. I had to meet my goal. And there was this editing portion that I was going through on the last chapter. So I got that done. But what was the last book? There was a couple books that I was listening to, because Audible has been my best friend, man. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
My wife, she started listening to Barack Obama's book that he had, and that was one that I wanted to listen to next. 25 hours. I'm like, man, this is going to be good. And he's also a really good communicator. So I think that there's a lot to learn there. Man, I had it in my head what book that was. anyway, like the last couple of books, one was on Kobe Bryant's life, because I wanted to know what made him the Black Mamba, what gave him that attitude. So that was one of the books that I read. Right now, I'm really just focusing on connecting with people. That's really been my main thing. And this year, one of the goals that I have is really to find 12 people, because I feel like 12 is a big number for it to be a lofty goal, but yet it's small enough to where we can mesh together and we can create different events, in Raleigh as well as in New York, because we've got some partners in New York too. New York was where we did our first conference, the Vision Conference. But find 12 people that think like a little bit like we do, but they have their own way and skills with different things, and see how we can grow and influence and impact our communities. Because I want them to be able to come with some sort of influence, and maybe the tools that we have and the tools that they have can mesh together to bring something about beautiful in 2022. So my focus is really individuals, people, learning, communicating, connecting, and that really is my focus for 2021. Last year, it has been family, keeping my mask on, learning about these vehicles. Because I got a full-time job. I got a business and a vision. I'm writing a book. I've got 2 kids and a wife, so it's a lot. But, one thing that I learned is just, I want to have a full life. I don't want to live, I don't just want to be satisfied with a mundane life. I want to live a full life. I don't want to be balanced necessarily, because I feel like if I give it all that I have for just a couple years, and bring my family along with, the fight and with everything that we're doing, our kids are involved with some of the events that we put on. Me and my wife, we travel all over the place together. That's kind of our alone time. And this year we'll plan on going back to the Caribbean to visit my home, Grenada, which is going to be great. But we don't want to be balanced as of right now, because if you want to do something great and fantastic and set something up for your family, then you got to hit it hard now. And then you'll have your time to rest and be somewhat balanced more later on. And that's just a philosophy that I've learned from some of the people that I hang around, and I've seen the results of it in their life. And I'm taking that and applying that into my life. And that's one of the ways that I got to write the books that I wrote. I always thought that it would take 3 and 4 years to write a book. I wrote a book in a year.
Wow. Do you mind sharing your first book? I know you just got one. You just completed one at the end of last year. Do you mind sharing about your first book that you completed?
So the first book is called Kingdom Mindset, and it is taking the view of the Bible, the story that happened in the Bible, and utilizing the words that Jesus, as well as the Israel and that family, what they spoke about, which was a kingdom, a king. And it really didn't have too much to do with religion. Now, Judaism came out of that, but Christianity came out of that. But ultimately, what Jesus was talking about and what was coming about was a kingdom mindset of life. And I think if people have that understanding and have that mindset, and you take that and you read the Bible and you see, okay, wow, I think I'm royalty, then you attack life in a different way. My dad is a king. Okay, my dad is if you're a Christian, my dad is God, and Jesus is my big brother. They're all royalty. I'm in the family. So there's nothing that I can't do. I'm empowered, and in the Bible, it says that I have backup. Like all this type of mentality, it doesn't make you a suffering servant. It doesn't make you satisfied with being in poverty. There's no king who's someone of royalty is not going to be in poverty. It's not saying that you won't come from poverty, but your mindset has to be right. So kingdom mindset kind of takes some scriptures in the Bible in context, not taking it out of context, in context, because that is very important, and just asks really good questions. And I think when people read that book, I want them to come away feeling refreshed, but going, what did I read? And I want them to go back and read the Bible.
Wow. That sounds like an amazing book, and we'll have to make sure we put a link up in the thumbnail so people can, if they're interested, be able to get a copy, because I'm saying that for myself because I'm going to ask to be able to go out there and get it, because it sounds very interesting to be able to take that perspective, because I've heard it, I've read about it, and I've thought about it, but to hear somebody else speak to it, it would be a great tool for myself. And like you said, it's continuing to expand my awareness, so to speak, of, okay, what am I not considering? And being able to accept that, okay, there's something I may not know, or something I may not even consider. But that's okay. That's why, we have the different tools and the different materials available to us. So I guess I'll finish off with this one last question for you, and that is, how has failure shaped your life?
Oh man, it has changed everything. It has changed how I parent my kids. It has changed my outlook on how I feel I can help them move forward. I think one of my biggest failures that I had to learn from, and this is where network marketing is so beautiful. Most people can't start businesses because they don't have a product. They probably don't have that much money. But with network marketing, you find a company. I mean, you name my mom, she did Mary Kay growing up. I saw what she was able to do. Her clients were like her friends and family. It was beautiful. Mm-hmm. And every time we would go to different customers' house, they would always feed us. So I was like, I love this. So I wasn't shy to the whole network marketing industry. But with network marketing, one of the things that I saw and learned was about sales. Mm-hmm. That's the most scariest thing that people face. And they go, well, I don't want to be in sales. But they don't realize that they're in sales every day of their life. They just don't understand what sales is or what sales should be. So once I started understanding that sales is more of just trying to find out by listening what people want and then matching them to what they want, I started to just understand that, okay, it's very important that I learn to listen. And this is where all the stuff starts to come together.
Yes.
And for my first year in business, I had absolutely no sales. Didn't sell anything, but I was trying to do stuff. But then the books came in, and then, conversations, and starting to have a different perspective on life and sales. And I heard somebody talk about this very subject. And I think it might have been Zig Ziglar who says, if you help enough people get what they want, you in turn get what you want. Yeah. So the focus should never be what you want that you're trying to get from somebody, but you're more or less living a life where you're helping people. If you do that, people start to see value in you, and then ultimately you get what you want. But still, the focus is not you getting what you want. It's just how things work and how things operate. Most people would say, what you sow is what you reap. It's similar concept. But my biggest failure was failing at sales for a year. And then that gradually changed, and I just really started to appreciate people more. The military, going back and forth to Iraq and war and stuff, I looked at civilians in a type of way that I was like, you guys don't understand life. I didn't want to talk to people. Right. Didn't appreciate people all that much. I mean, I appreciated them because I did the service, but I was like, you guys don't know what real life is about. People want to kill us in America. But this kind of broke things down for me and take that look on the inside. And as I was failing at selling toothpaste and soap and energy drinks and stuff like that, it really taught me that I was not listening to people. I need to learn to communicate better.
Wow.
But that changed my whole life.
I can imagine, because just trying to get interviews with people is I wouldn't say it's direct selling, but it is sales to some degree, to be able to make the ask of, hey, would you like to be interviewed?
Yeah.
I've been turned down more often than I've have interviews. And you start to get to a point where I know I was one of those people who's like, oh no, I'll never go into sales. But now I understand it's like, it's a part of the process. It's like, okay, we're going, like we talked about earlier, we're going on that journey. Okay, I got to know where I'm at. I know that my sales skills are not that great. My communication skills aren't that great. I've got to make sure that I'm speaking, like as you said, to a need that they have, not to them meeting my need, to meeting their need, and focusing on that. And that's when things, I won't say they turn for me, but for me, they're starting to turn. I'm realizing that the conversation is not about Michael. It's not about what I want. Yes, okay, well, you have a show and you do interviews with people. Okay, and how is that beneficial for me? What is that doing for me? And being able to answer those questions, or as somebody told me this weekend, they said, answer the questions your client is asking. And it's almost like, but I don't know what they're asking. Okay, find out.
Right.
You have to go through that process and work your way backwards and say, okay, what do they need? And I like how you talked about it, is that sales and the communication pieces, for me, have been two big challenges. One, I share the similar piece of being in the military, is like, I don't want to talk to people. Why do I need to talk to people? If I can do my job, why do I need to worry about their feelings, what they have to say, unless it's, hey, Michael, you're doing it wrong. I'll fix it. But other than that, it's either yes or it's no. I never understood that, yes, there's more to life than just yes or no. There's that whole area in between, and that's where the growth and the change for myself has begun to happen. And it sounds like it's very similar for you as well.
Yeah. And it's like martial arts, right? You learn martial arts and you get to your black belt to learn that, okay, now that you have the alphabets, now we can start. But you spent however long to get your black belt.
Yes.
People sell all the time. I sold myself to get my wife. My sales pitch to her sucked. It was, I like you. I don't know if you like me. You don't have to say anything right now, but get back to me whenever you feel like you want to talk to me. And that was it. That kind of opened the door. But hey, people we just don't realize that we sell all the time. I mean, it's scary, but it's only because of the perspective that we have, and we don't realize that we need to try to help people more than try to get things for ourselves.
Definitely.
But yeah, man,
I appreciate all of the knowledge you shared with us, and just the wisdom of mentorship and some of the things that you've learned. Now, if people wanted to be able to get to know more about the Dream Team Project, or even be able to find your books, can you just give them some websites or things of how they can go about doing that?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, you can go to thedreamteamproject.com, and there's always new information up there. This year, hopefully we get to launch some more merchandise. If you want the book, well, also on the Dream Team website, you can find events and just different things that we'll be doing throughout the year. I think one of the first books that we're going to start to study is Damon Johns. He's got a book out there called Go for Broke.
Yes.
Amazing book. Oh my gosh. So whoever you guys are listening to this, if you want to join in on that, it will be a great study. That's one of the events you can look forward to on the Dream Team Project. And then if you want to get the Kingdom Mindset book, that is on lulu.com. And I encourage anyone who wants to write a book and you want to publish a book for free. I mean, you can pay for different things. I highly suggest Lulu because it was such an easy process. When I published my first book, I was shocked when I did it. I was like, oh, that's it. Yeah, lulu.com is where you can find the Kingdom Mindset. You can just put it in a search box, search my name, and you'll find it. So.
Oh, all right. I appreciate the time again, Joshua. Thank you for joining us and sharing with all of this great wisdom. Any closing words before we go?
No, man, this has been fun, Mike. And I just, man, I will try to get more people for you to interview because I mean, you did great, man. I really appreciate this, and I appreciate your time because you've got to take time just the same way to set apart so that we can do this. So, yeah, man, I just hope people learn, grow, change. Your dreams were meant for you to have. So don't hide them. Definitely shoot for finding a mentor, find out what books you need, and go for it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Again, thank you, Joshua, for taking the time out to just talk with us and share a little bit about your life and your journey to this point. That's all we have this week on the Business Leader Spotlight. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night. Thank you for watching this week's video. I hope you were able to find one thing you can begin to apply to your life today. I would appreciate it if you would like, comment, and subscribe. Also, if you have any feedback, leave it in the comments below. Let us know if you know of any great guests to be on the Spotlight. I look forward to your questions and your comments. Thanks again for watching.